shockingly, California, for the first time in their history, rejected a measure that would have increased the minimum wage. For fast food workers, it's already been increased to $20 an hour, but this would have increased it to $18 an hour for everybody. And it got voted down, and voted down pretty substantially. Why? Well, some of the reasons: after the $20 minimum wage law went into effect, a majority of restaurants, 98%, said they raised menu prices. 89% said they reduced employee hours. 73% said they limited employee shift pickup or overtime opportunities. 70% said they reduced staff or consolidated positions. 93% said they're going to raise menu prices next year. 87% said they're going to reduce employee hours next year. And 71% said they're going to limit employee shift pickups or overtime opportunities next year. Now, overall, the state of California, because of the loss of fast food jobs, has a net decrease of 4,400 jobs in January. Roughly 10,500 fast food workers have lost their jobs since the bill was signed. And has Newsom apologized? Has he said we were wrong? Has he said we ought to rethink this? No, he's not. And by the way, there's a proposition called Proposition 36 that the LA Times opposed, Gavin Newsom opposed, and Kamala Harris wouldn't say how she voted one way or the other on it. It essentially gutted Proposition 47 that allows people to steal up to $950 a day. If you get busted, you've committed a misdemeanor, zero chance of going to jail because we have cashless bail. This amendment that was passed overwhelmingly by the voters now made theft of that level a felony. Again, the LA Times opposed it. Gavin Newsom opposed it. It passed 70% to 30%. A 40-point margin in this deep, deep blue state. Why? People are concerned about the rise of crime and the decline of arrests. We're talking about how crazy California is and the crazy governor that President Trump refers to as Newsom. By the way, I never called him that when I ran. Other people did, but I never did. And California running a deficit. He wants to spend $100 million on anti-Trump lawfare to make sure that California remains a sanctuary for illegal aliens. We were ripped off to the tune of $55 billion of COVID funds. And now employers are on the hook for that amount of money, having their payroll taxes jacked up substantially. California's lost 1 million people in the last 3 years. Meanwhile, the budget gets bigger and bigger, even though the state is smaller. This is an article that will likely come up when Mr. Newsom runs for president. It came out in 2020, published by an organization called the Freedom Foundation. Headline: Governor Newsom fiddles while California burns. And it says that California was hailed for the way it dealt with the pandemic. With nearly 40 million residents, experts at the time were perplexed as to how California could manage to keep the virus so well contained. But it wasn't long before the Bay Area and LA County, the two largest epicenters in California, became the two largest epicenters for the virus. While in many rural areas, they continued to effectively fight the virus. When I was running for governor, it was 2021, went to the middle of the state, which is very rational, a lot of farmers. I talked to a lot of young farmers. I said, have you guys been vaccinated? They all laughed. No. We're young, we're healthy, work outdoors. Why would we need to do that? Have you ever gotten the virus? A couple of them said they had. What happened? Well, it was like a cold. No different than getting a fever or something like that. Didn't last very long. No, we're not taking it. Well, the model, California model, completely fell apart. We had among the largest epicenters for the virus in the entire country. Now, Newsom shut down businesses. He is a major shareholder in a winery called Plump Jack Winery, located in Napa County, where he was at that restaurant, the French Laundry, yucking it up with some of the people that drafted the mandates. He was not wearing a mask, as you recall. He was not engaging in social distancing, had incurred a wine tab of $12,000 that taxpayers paid. As I said before, I'm not a real big wine guy. I mean, I like a glass of red wine from time to time, so I don't know that much about wine. But I assure you, he was not drinking Mad Dog 2020. 80% of the wineries in California had been shut down because of Gavin Newsom's order. But somehow, some way, his winery was spared. Now get this. After taking office, he lived only a short time in the governor's mansion. Decided that it really wasn't his style. He moved out to an estate in a suburb of Sacramento called Fair Oaks. Price tag $3.7 million. Quote, the home was registered to an LLC operated by Newsom's cousin and longtime business partner, Jeremy Schurer, who's also co-president of Plum Jack Winery. A spokesperson for Newsom claimed it was the governor himself who paid for the home, which was odd given that Newsom was still paying on the $3.2 million mortgage on his previous home. So questions about where the money came began to percolate. In October 2019, the LLC responded by simply gifting the house to Newsom, claiming that the governor was a member of the LLC. After that, Newsom received a $2.7 million tax-free cash-out refinance on the home. Now, his yearly financial disclosures didn't mention the LLC or the gifted home, which would have exceeded the $500 limit for gifts. He's never been listed as a member of the LLC. The only listed member is his cousin. 2 years later, Newsom is still not listed as a member. Not the first time Newsom has found himself in trouble over unreported assets. 2003, when he was still a San Francisco supervisor, he failed to report more than $11 million in real estate and business loans over a 4-year period of time. He also failed to report the value of 6 months' worth of rent the LLC gifted him in 2019. Quote, depending upon how you look at it, Governor Newsom either has a deep-seated hatred for paperwork or is guilty of money laundering, tax evasion, and concealing and receiving improper gifts, end of quote. This piece also said this, and I'm quoting, Newsom also failed to report the value of 6 months' worth of rent the LLC gifted him in 2019. The average rent, if Newsom hadn't been staying there free of charge, as we now know, would have totaled $17,463 per month, and again, would have exceeded the $500 a year gift limit, end of quote. So when he runs, I'll be talking about some of these things because I will undoubtedly, as a Californian, be asked to respond to his candidacy.